Welcome into the Fade. I am Clay Travis. He is Todd Furman, and I am starting off tonight's show with a blood bank guarantee.
I can't see how this doesn't go poorly. I can't see how this doesn't go poorly, that you're starting off on a high note that's going to end in colossal failure. But it is your show. I'm merely sitting in the co-pilot chair. So continue, Mr. Travis.
Santa Clay is coming to town with a big bag full of goodies. And those goodies are the blood bank guarantee. Furman, Titans win outright as a 3-point underdog. I'll still tell you to take the plus 3.5 some places. Pour all of it into this bet, fanduel.com/Clay. Titans are beating the San Francisco 49ers. They are winning outright. Right off the top, not pulling punches, my blood bank guarantee. Santa Clay has come to town, and all of you are going to get rich.
If you had as much clout with the folks at FanDuel like Charles Barkley does, whose face is prominently displayed all over the website, why would you not have got them offering 30-1 enhanced odds on this particular game? So at least if people wanted to try and line their pockets in anticipation for the holiday, they could have put up a few bucks to win a lot, since you're guaranteeing a Titans victory tonight.
It's a great question. It's a question for FanDuel, not for me. You may have seen it, Furman. According to the good people at Mediate, it's hard to partner with anybody else.
No, we're not sitting here and going to let you pat yourself on the back and talk about influential media people. Until you're number one, I'm not paying any credence to that article. And last I checked, you weren't number one. There's somebody more prominent at the four-letter network in the number one spot. You may be in the top three, but you know what that means to me, Clay? The silver medal makes you the first loser. So we're not going to sit here and sing your praises today and ruin this glorious opportunity.
Everyone knows that I hate to brag or draw attention to myself. It's just not my jam. Not the kind of guy who would do that.
No, not at all.
But if I were the kind of person who would do that, it is worth mentioning that I was the second most influential person in all of sports media, according to Mediate. And that maybe, in addition to being Santa Clay today, there's no one out there other than Stephen A. Smith who is more influential than this guy right now who you're talking to, that can't manage to get the wire, by the way, in his ear to not be visible on this screen. But, just tossing it out there, second most impressive force for media influence in sports, your boy right here. And also, not the kind of guy to brag or draw attention to himself, number 67 overall, most influential in media overall. So just bringing both those things up.
I mean, the 67 I can understand, because I get the feeling like, other than your OutKick show and what we do here to talk gambling, I mean, come 2022, you're not even going to be considered a sports personality. You're officially a political pundit, so we're going to have to remove you from that list. And it's going to allow our dear friend Skip Bayless to move from number 10 up to number 9, and he'll feel much better about his current station in life.
I might be the first person to ever be most influential in sports and in media overall. I mean, if Strahan can do it, if Robin Roberts can do it, if who else is wildly influential in both?
What about Jesse Palmer? Can we put Jesse Palmer up there?
Maybe. I think Jesse Palmer's still single, by the way. Even though he's the Bachelor and even though he's a former NFL quarterback, I think that guy's been milking singled them for a while.
If you're as influential as you are, much like Michael Strahan, can we send you into space? The only caveat being, instead of you coming back to Earth, we can leave you up there, because that may be the only space anywhere around that allows your head to expand.
I would go to space, but I wouldn't pay to go to space. Does that mean if somebody wanted to send me for free?
I mean, if you're that influential, people should be rolling out the red carpet and going, hey, look, we really want to send Clay Travis to space. But there is a growing faction of people, I'm sure, that would happily pay and contribute for you on a one-way trip and allow you to orbit the Earth in a fancy spacesuit or whatever the hell they wear when they're up there.
I'm actually becoming more beloved. It used to be that there were a lot of people who hated me.
I think my IFB is breaking up here. I think the signal's having some problems, some connectivity.
I've kind of become America's sweetheart. I'm maybe the most beloved person in sports now, other than Charles Barkley.
What the hell kind of nightmare am I in right now?
I don't know. It's just happened. I don't understand. This cord is driving me insane. I don't understand how it happened, but it happened. All right, hold on a minute. Speaking of influence, instead of getting more coal for the holidays from Verizon,
make sure you get the
AT&T,
reads right.
T-Mobile, Furman, did you ever have a stocking in your house?
I do now that I'm marrying into. It's a, multi-religion family here. We're taking the best.
So do you have a Christmas tree in your house right now?
We do have a small Christmas tree in our house. We have 3 stockings, although we don't really have a true mantle or fireplace. You don't really have those things on the West Coast. So there's definitely plenty of Christmas cheer, and we will have 25 of my soon-to-be extended family here on Saturday to celebrate the holiday.
Oh, that's great. Love to see it. Well, if you got Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, you're paying too much. How about getting a new phone for just $479 from Pure Talk? iPhone 12, by the way. Also, you can switch to Pure Talk, where you'll get nationwide 5G coverage. Same coverage as the big guys. Average family will save over $800 a year. I'm a customer. I wouldn't tell you to use a service I don't use. And by the way, hate to brag, but I'm the second most influential person in sports media, 67th overall.
Please make it stop.
All.
I'm just going to continue text messaging while you do this read.
Unlimited talk, text, 6 gigs of data, just $30 a month. All you have to do is go to puretalk.com right now. Shop for the plan and the phone that's right for you. Enter the promo code OutKick. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month, plus you can save on a new phone. puretalk.com, promo code OutKick. Get hooked up today. All right, Furman. I'm on the Titans +3. I also like A.J. Brown, who's coming back to score a touchdown. I like Deontay Foreman to score a touchdown. Do you like any props or any lines in particular? San Francisco 49ers at the Titans tonight, Thursday Night Football.
I do not like the game or total. I think the number has corrected itself based on what we saw last weekend. I mean, if we were doing this show last Thursday talking about what the look-ahead price would have been, you'd have been able to bet San Francisco at a pick'em. But the 49ers embarrassed the Atlanta Falcons to the tune of 31-13. The Titans actually win the stat sheet against the Steelers, but have an innate ability to turn it over not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times in losing that football game. And here we are. There's no doubt that the Titans offense will benefit getting playmakers back in the mix, and A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. But I do wonder about that left side of the offensive line that's down Taylor Lewan and Roger Saffold. I worry about the defense contending with arguably one of the more explosive offenses that they've seen in recent weeks. You look at the 49ers. During the last 6 games they've played, they're top 10 offensively, top 10 defensively, and Jimmy Garoppolo is really doing things that I think are flying under the radar in terms of his yards per attempt. So when you look at the prop market, the one player that I want to attack is wearing San Francisco old gold and red, and that's Brandon Ayuk, because I think the 49ers will line him up in the slot. He's the guy that I think becomes a nightmare problem for that Tennessee defense to contend with. I'd look for Ayuk receptions over. I think his yardage can go over, but he, in my opinion, becomes the X factor, because as disparaging as I want to be about the Titans as a whole and how inept their offense has been without Derrick Henry, the defense has actually raised its level of play. And I think if they can continue to get better on that side of the ball, get healthier offensively, they are going to be a somewhat difficult out in the playoffs. But you can't argue with what we've seen without Henry. I mean, Tannehill's numbers have fallen off. The points per game have fallen, the yards per game, and everything else. So I'm not sure just getting A.J. Brown back in the mix helps them tonight.
All right. Are you betting, by the way, Furman, right now, any games in advance of like more than an hour before kickoff with all the COVID impact that we are seeing still afflict the NFL? Because up until guys actually take the field for the official start of the game, I just keep expecting for more of them to be knocked out because of COVID. How are you gambling at this point?
It's getting tougher and tougher. I mean, I still trust my numbers early in the week when it comes to NFL totals. So we'll bet those and then figure out what we're going to do with them later, knowing that we can beat the market and get a couple of points working in our favor. But as far as sides are concerned, I mean, if I like a game, perfect illustration. The Minnesota Vikings were on my lean list throughout the course of the week. I was all set to bet them +3 earlier this morning. And then suddenly Dalvin Cook tests positive, and we're not quite sure what the domino effect will be for the Minnesota Vikings in the grand scheme of things. So there's no way you can go in 72 hours, 96 hours in advance and be fully confident that these teams are going to have their full complement of weapons. So you take a smaller position, you run the risk that guys can test positive. Sometimes it works in your favor. Sometimes it works against you. But the Dolphins Saints, another game where you've seen a 5-point line move because the Saints are going to be down potentially to rookie quarterback Ian Book. And it's just made things a bigger headache one that I thought we were going to be able to avoid in 2022. But, here we are as we wrap up the NFL regular season. And rather than being stubborn, I'd like to protect the profit and a little bit of the cushion that I've built for myself throughout the course of the season.
All right, Saturday games. We got the Packers a little bit over a touchdown favorite. We've got the Colts, by the way, Packers against Browns. And then we've got the Colts against the Cardinals. Colts have been on a roll. Cardinals have not. Cardinals a 1.5-point favorite at home. What do you see in Saturday action?
Yeah, let's start with the nightcap because I know this one has a bigger impact on the Titans fans out there. Should Tennessee lose tonight, although you said that's an impossibility, and Indianapolis
Blood bank,
wins,
they're winning.
Suddenly the AFC South gets to be a lot more hotly contested than what we thought it was going to be 4 or 5 weeks ago. So when we look at this Colts team, I think the betting market has caught up to them. I mean, this is a game last week where you could have bet the Indianapolis Colts plus 4.5 before they go out and beat the Patriots, and Arizona loses outright as a double-digit favorite to the Lions. I do think you get an all-in effort from Arizona, but I worry about them defensively. I mean, this is a group that overachieved for the better part of the season. Water now finally starting to meet its level, and we've seen their ability or lack thereof to stop the run really table off without J.J. Watt. Now, offensively, DeAndre Hopkins is just a receiver, and we talk in greater context about how a wideout doesn't impact things that greatly. But I can't argue with the productivity from Kyler Murray and company with and without Hopkins on the field. I mean, his yards per attempt falls off. The running ability for this team falls off, and it puts an increased amount of stress on some of their secondary options. And with Rondale Moore a little bit banged up, I mean, Christian Kirk has to become the true number one. Let's see if that can pay dividends. But the Colts are playing well, 8-3 in their last 11. They were able to win despite Carson Wentz only completing 5 passes. Jonathan Taylor has been a bell cow. I do think the Colts are going to have to lighten his workload a little bit to keep him fresh. But at +1 or even -1 for Indianapolis, there ain't a whole lot of wiggle room there. I'd feel more comfortable going over the Colts team total at 24 because if Indianapolis is going to cover here, I think it's their offense with a breakout performance. So I would go over 24 with the Indianapolis Colts. As far as the early game is concerned, tough spot for Cleveland. Short week, running it back, having played on Monday to go up to Green Bay on Saturday. This is a Packers team that we know right now controls its own destiny for the number 1 seed in the NFC. It appears that Marquez Valdes-Scantling is a long shot to play, so that changes some of Green Bay's big play potential over the top. I love some of the comments that have come out, talking about Devontae Adams. We saw the Ravens essentially throw 3 defensive backs at him. I don't think the Browns will have that luxury. So Denzel Ward is going to be tasked with trying to neutralize him there. I think Cleveland can run the ball. They can shorten the game. And in my opinion, I think the Browns could be a live underdog here, catching 7.5. Not sure they'll have enough to win it. But if you're asking me to pick a side, I like Cleveland plus the points more so than I like laying the lumber with Green Bay.
All right, let me give you my OutKick 6-pack. I've already given you my blood bank guarantee. That's Thursday night football. I've got the Cardinals -1.5, Bengals -3 against the Ravens. I like the Rams Vikings over, Bills +2 at the Patriots, Steelers +7.5 at the Chiefs, and I like the Dolphins -1.5 at the Saints. Anything there jump out at you? That's my OutKick 6-pack for the week. In addition, Baker's half dozen, I guess it is. I've got the Titans blood bank guarantee, as we started off the show already discussing.
If I had to have you rank, other than your Titans blood bank guarantee, how would you rank the NFL picks you just gave out? I mean, in terms of your level of confidence in that 6-pack that you're sharing with all of your loyal OutKick readers.
I love them. I mean, I bet every college football pick and every NFL pick I give out. So I bet them the.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out which game I should eviscerate first. So I want you to kind of rank, of those 6. Let's say your top 3 of those. Because if I go into all 6, I think people are going to start to tune out.
So I like the Dolphins in no particular order because I already gave my blood bank. I like the Dolphins, the Cardinals, and I would say the Bengals as my 3 favorite here.
All right. Cardinals, I have no problem with. The line value is working in your favor, so I'm not going to be critical there. The Bengals number at 3 concerns me a little bit because Coach Harbaugh has been outstanding with same season revenge. But I'd be a fool to try and ignore Baltimore's deficiencies in the secondary. That's actually a game that I think correlates. You liking the side correlates with what I want to do in that one, and that's go over the total. I mean, when you have Wink Martindale calling out this, Cincinnati offense, a little bit problematic, knowing that Joe Burrow threw for more than 400 yards. Jamar Chase kind of had his breakout performance of his rookie season. So I get where you're coming from here. I'm curious to see where this number goes. If it's Tyler Huntley officially announced in, if it is, I like the total over even more. And as far as Monday's game, I do think Miami's going to close a field goal favorite now with the uncertainty around the Saints quarterback. So I like you getting out ahead of it. But if Miami moves to a 3-point road favorite, this is going to be a tough environment. So that's what I'll be waiting for to try and back the Saints. Because I think Ian Book, to be quite honest, could be a slight upgrade over what we've seen from Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill. We know Book has shown some mobility during his time at Notre Dame, and maybe there's a wrinkle or two somewhere in the mix. So, of those three, I'd probably only really take umbrage with the Dolphins, but can't fault you for getting out ahead of Atlanta, 1.5.
All right, what else standing out there do you think makes the most sense in the NFL weekend matchups?
As I go through some of this, these numbers really aren't widely available, unfortunately, as they're ping-ponging all over the place. So I'll go with a total in a game right here in Vegas between Denver and the Raiders. This is a Raiders team that's really lacked big play potential without Darren Waller. I don't expect him to be out there this week. Denver starting your, beloved Drew Lock, because I know you can't say anything negative about SEC quarterbacks, but Lock doesn't scare me either under center for Denver. I get the feeling this is first team to 20, so I'm willing to go under 41.5. I'd split up my bet, though, and go under in the first half at 20. I think both these defenses can rule the day in what becomes a de facto elimination game as far as the AFC playoff picture is concerned. I'll also go out to the Pacific Northwest. I think Seattle, this is a team that's looked somewhat disinterested. Yes, they showed fight against the Rams, but do they really care in a short week when the Bears come in? I think Russell Wilson knows he's working on borrowed time up there. He's going to be wearing a different jersey and helmet next season. I like the Bears plus the points. I hate Matt Nagy as a head coach and what he's done in terms of getting this team to play disciplined football or lack thereof. But I think the Bears can be in this one from start to finish. So I'll take the Bears plus the 6.5 against Seattle Sunday afternoon.
Furman, I'm a rich guy now, so I pay attention to the stock market. I know what's going on day-to-day basis. You know what really rich people do, though? They buy art. Do you know
invest
why
in
they
cryptocurrency?
Buy art? They
invest in
art,
crypto?
Furman. They buy art because it's a hedge against all the crazy day-to-day activities. Blue chip art, alternative asset class, little correlation to public equities over the past 2 decades. In fact, the S&P 500 has been outperformed by art prices over the last 25 years. It's no wonder that many billionaires and super rich people have quietly been investing a ton of their wealth in art. Now you can too. Masterworks is a $1 billion financial tech startup. You can add to your portfolio parts of really wildly popular artwork. You can own shares in this just like you can own shares in a company, whether it's Banksy, Picasso, other artists whose names I can't even pronounce because I'm not sophisticated enough. You can pick your favorite artist and own parts of their work at masterworks.art/outkick. Furman, you should be doing this. Go to masterworks.art/outkick. Get hooked up today with a share of big-time billionaire, millionaire asset class purchases. Masterworks.art/outkick.
Serious question. You and your lovely wife are women of culture. You've traveled a good amount. You own 97 pieces of property. Other than that hideous Dixieland Delight poster that sits over your right shoulder every time we do this show, do you guys own, any upscale artwork? Have you guys ever jumped into that deep end of the pool?
Well, what is to you that's a good question. What is to you upscale artwork? Like, what is upscale? What's it cost?
I'm thinking, you tell me how rich you are. You tell everyone who tunes into the Fade every week. I want to know that, if you own a $500,000 piece of artwork somewhere that you're putting in your house.
No, I don't own. No, and by the way, not that I would not be willing to own a $500,000 piece of artwork. My concern, I've got kids and animals. Like, the last thing I want to hang on my wall is something that can be destroyed by one of my
you
kids.
can protect these things. You can protect these things, right? We're not talking about, the name of the movie eludes me. Right? The Thomas Crown Affair, where somebody's coming into your household trying to cut out the piece of artwork.
I'm not worried about somebody stealing my artwork. I'm worried about my kids who destroy everything and the cats that my wife made me buy that destroy everything. I'm worried about internal threats to expensive artwork. But we're building 2 new houses, and so there's going to be expensive artwork in some of those eventually, I think.
Bobby Axelrod and Billions, commissions an artist to create original pieces of artwork for him. So I figure, a man of your clout and stature, you have to find an up-and-coming artist. You have to identify their talent. and say that you want the next 5 pieces of art that you can put in, your palatial beach house, your 50,000 square foot mansion, or whatever the hell you're building in Nashville. So that way you can say you have original pieces that were done specifically from your chosen artist.
That's a good idea. I might have to do that.
Made it.
You know what else you need to do, Furman? You're getting married. You need to start worrying about your male grooming. All of a sudden now, if you don't worry about your male grooming, your fiance is going to be looking around. She's going to be saying,
Great
hey,
segue, Clay. Go ahead.
Do I want to be committed to this guy for the rest of my life when he can't even groom himself accurately? That's why you need to get hooked up right now with Manscaped. Manscaped will ensure that you can get hooked up with everything out there, whether it's your ears, your nose, your pubic hair, whatever you need to trim. You go to manscaped.com, use the code DBAP20. In fact, Furman, I'm going to go as soon as I finish. Christmas gift from me to you. I'm going to go order all this stuff for you. It's a gift for me to your lovely fiance because I don't feel good about your grooming products or your grooming standards. We're going to go to DBAP20 code, 20% off, free shipping. If you've got a friend like I do, Furman, who you don't feel good about his grooming habits, maybe it's your boyfriend, maybe it's your fiance, maybe it's your girlfriend, whoever's out there to take care of you, go to manscaped.com right now, 20% off and free shipping with the code DBAP20. That's manscaped.com, DBAP20. And I've got another ad, Furman, that's going to fit even better. And this one you really do need. But in the meantime, any futures bets that you're liking in college football, in the NFL? And by the way, college football gambling question for you.
Sure.
What happens if one of these teams wins a championship without having to play in a championship game?
I mean, you cash your ticket. I mean, that's the reality of it. I mean, at this point,
so all these tickets are good, even if the games don't end up taking place.
Yeah, I mean, just read the house rules, but I don't know a book out there that wouldn't pay out. I mean, it basically says that if college football declares a national champion, whatever team is announced as such ends up getting you to the window and you're able to cash a ticket. So whether it's a long shot on Cincinnati, whether you bet Michigan before the Big Ten championship or before they played Ohio State, or you've been sitting on a Georgia or Alabama ticket all season, I mean, you're going to walk to the window. You're not going to apologize whatsoever for being able to say you got a fortuitous bounce. But I'm of the mindset that the semifinals will get played. We'll get a national championship. There's way too much money at stake for college football not to find a way to play the 3 biggest games on the schedule this season.
Do you like any more of the value now as these games get closer on Alabama, Cincinnati, Georgia, or Michigan in terms of the playoffs?
I mean, for me, I think Michigan was a little bit too trendy. I want to see how some of these cases play out, but I think if the number were to come down to 7, Georgia warrants a value bet because you're buying Georgia stock at the bottom of the market, given the fact that everyone saw them play their worst game of the season against Alabama. I don't think Michigan can test them in space with a vertical passing game the same way the likes of Jamison Williams or John Mechie can. So I would look at Georgia if that number keeps coming down. And for me, I'm hoping that the public drives up the price on Alabama. I mean, let's not ignore the fact that Alabama down the stretch needed a heroic drive from Bryce Young to get through Auburn. They were highly mediocre against LSU, and now you're paying a premium to back them against a plenty capable Cincinnati team. So if this number got to 14, I'm not sure it will. Hopefully it gets to 14.5. I would value bet the Bearcats. I think they're going to have something to say and play with that underdog mentality where Desmond Ridder and company can go out there. They're going to relish the opportunity to be buttoned up. And maybe give Alabama more of a game than the Crimson Tide think they're going to get when you look at the resume and the zip code from where the Cincinnati Bearcats come from.
Any college football bowl games that you particularly like? We've got a little bit later this afternoon, kicking off this evening, Central Florida. And then you've got obviously just a bevy of bowl games in the days and the next couple of weeks ahead, basically. Anything that's jumping out at you that you're thinking, man, I love the value that's here?
Yeah, a couple of games. And again, because we don't know the uncertainty of player availability, you don't want to jump into the pool both feet first on these particular games. But I think when you look at Houston catching 2.5 against Auburn, I really believe the Cougars could close a favorite there. This is an Auburn program that limped to the finish. I don't know how motivated they're going to be to take on an American Athletic Conference foe. And I think this is a state of transition of sorts, not only at the quarterback position, but as far as coordinators are concerned. So I like Houston plus the points. I think when you look at NC State, this is a team that's more talented, in my opinion, on both sides of the line of scrimmage than UCLA. I don't hold the Pac-12 in the highest regard in terms of their conference schedule and such. So NC State minus the 1 in that particular game. And then, when you look deeper into the college football schedule and you try and figure out what's going to happen on some of these games, I think if you're able to lay 3 with Kansas State, that's still a bit of value against LSU. I mean, this is an LSU team that, in my opinion, obviously we know they're going through regime change. We don't know who's going to be available out there, but I think Kansas State, the kind of blue collar team that's going to make LSU work for everything. So I know this number has moved a ton, but I think even at a field goal, Kansas State offers some value.
All right, let's dive into some of the futures in the NFL. Is there anything out there in the MVP market, anything that you're liking in terms of trying to analyze that?
When you go through in terms of AFC and NFC conference futures, as ridiculous as this sounds, I don't think there's a lot of value other than on some of the favorites potentially. Just given the fact that all of these teams are going to have difficult roads in front of them, there's not a huge disparity. And barring some unforeseen circumstances, we're not going to see double-digit favorites in either the AFC or NFC playoff picture. So for a team like the Colts that I think can win the AFC, you're better off betting these teams on the money line and rolling them over game in, game out. Now, as far as the MVP, I think Tom Brady's number has been overcompensated. He went from being an odds-on favorite at FanDuel going into last weekend. He, of course, puts up the goose egg the first time in an eternity in their loss against the Saints, and Aaron Rodgers moves into the catbird seat. But this is an award where humans vote on it. It's not just on-field performance. And I think Tom Brady still has a legitimate shot. So at a price just shy of 2-1, I think Brady makes some sense. I unfortunately can't buy into the long shot value with Jonathan Taylor at 9-1 or Cooper Kupp at 33 because I don't see a scenario where voters are going to give it to a skill position player. And what's interesting about Kupp, I think you could have had him at 200-1 a few weeks ago. He's been dominant. And I think when you look at that Rams roster, he's the engine that makes that team go. I'm not going to discredit Matthew Stafford, but I'd rather hold a Cooper Kupp ticket, in the mid-30s than I would betting Matthew Stafford at 15-1. As far as some of the other awards that are out there, I think if TJ Watt misses any time or he's not 100%, you could make a legitimate case for a rookie in Micah Parsons, not just to be defensive rookie of the year, but also defensive player of the year. The impact he's had on that Cowboys defense, spearheaded by Dan Quinn, has been outstanding and pretty incredible. That the knock on this guy when he opted out last year from Penn State was that they questioned his heart and his love of football. If this guy doesn't love football and the numbers he's putting up in his debut campaign in Dallas, I'd hate to see it if he ever put his blood, sweat, and tears into the sport. But Micah Parsons, defensive player of the year, 3.5-1. I actually think that's got a much better chance than the market suggests.
Furman, you bought your wedding ring yet? Yours individually, or has Nicole gotten yours yet?
To my knowledge, she has not purchased the ring that I'll be wearing for the rest of my life just yet. But
all right, tell her to text me because no joke, this would be a good choice. Manly bands, wedding rings, right? How much time did you spend before you made the choice on the ring that you were getting for your fiance?
Way, way, way too long. And that was with plenty of her creative input in the process.
No doubt. I did the same thing when I bought my ring for my now wife when we were getting engaged. The amount of effort, energy, and detail that goes into buying a woman's engagement ring is off the charts. Most men, though, don't really spend any time thinking about their own ring, which is why you need to go ahead and get hooked up, make a smart decision. Go to manlybands.com/clay right now. If you don't know your ring size, you can get their Manly Ring Sizer, 26 different plastic rings, whole and half sizes from size 5 all the way up to size 20. You can get even more creative. You can customize from scratch, style, material, inlay, sleeve, engraving, finish. You're going to be wearing this for the rest of your life, hopefully. With Manly Bands, you can shop with confidence, 30-day exchange policy, free warranty. You can get hooked up around the world. So whether it's your first wedding ring band or you're getting an upgrade, go to manlybands.com/clay. You can also use the promo code CLAY, that's CLAY, 25% off right now, 25% off at manlybands.com/clay, or you can use the promo code CLAY. All right, Santa Clay is already coming to town, Furman.
Thankfully, he's not coming to Vegas. We don't need you here.
I'm not sure where I'm going to be next week. I might be in Florida, and we might not be doing this show at all. I could be here. What are you doing? Are you going anywhere for the holidays?
Nope, I'm stuck here through the end of bowl season. Some responsibilities for my other media obligations. The lovely fiance, she gets to take a vacation. She's going to head off and spend some quality time with my family. Unfortunately, I am stuck here to continue grinding away.
See, I don't really know this whole normal life where you don't, like, I've been doing sports media for so long full time that you can't travel. You know this, but a lot of people might not during Christmas or the holidays or whatever, because you've got January 1st games because the NFL season's still going on. So usually in our line of work, it's after the Super Bowl before you can really get away into February. A lot of time that President's Day weekend is kind of an escape. But this year I can travel. I'm not sure where I'm going to go. I may be down in Florida again. I might just kind of stay here. My wife's taking 2 of the kids skiing, but I don't do the skiing thing, and I also not a big fan of cold weather. So I don't even know what I'm going to do. The reason why I bring it up is we might have a show on Monday. We might have a show on Thursday. We might not have any shows at all because I might be down in Florida and just say, screw it. So this could be our last show of the year. Anything you would want to say to people as 2021 and also the Christmas season inches closer and closer?
By all tokens, that if Clay decides he wants to issue more blood bank guarantees and you want to make some money during the holiday seasons, it would probably best to be betting against Clay. That's the reason that we crafted this show name called The Fade. It carries a double entendre as much as anything else. It's not because of Clay's hairstylings, but no, I want to thank everybody that's tuned in for the show. It's been our first foray. We've obviously kept the format loose from the start, as much ball busting and banter as anything else. So encourage people to bet responsibly throughout the holiday season. There are bowl games every day. So if you're going to bet all of them, make sure you can isolate which games you feel that you have stronger convictions on. The same thing applies to the NFL. And should we not have a show next Monday or Thursday, I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and obviously a happy and healthy New Year, that they can handle things responsibly and take an Uber if they're going to have 37 cocktails when they go out on the town.
That's good advice. Best advice out there. Listen to Santa Clay. Put everything you can into the Titans. They're going to win outright tonight. Just a couple of hours from now, FanDuel.com/Clay. Up to $1,000 no-risk first wager. Put it all on the Titans. You're going to be happy you did. Santa Clay's coming to town. FanDuel.com/Clay. Happy and Merry Christmas to everyone, and maybe Happy New Year for the gamblers. See you guys soon.